Welcome back. Chapter 4. Virgil called Green, who rejected the call. He called again, was rejected again. The third time a woman answered, a low-pitched growl. What? Who is this? Virgil introduced himself and Green said, I've spoken to the police several times. Margaret Train? Yes, but I've been appointed to be Sergeant Train's assistant on the case, and she suggested I start by talking with you. Virgil said. Train rolled her eyes. I need to get a feel for all the various personalities who knew Dr. Quill. I didn't know Quill. I only knew who he was, and I certainly didn't murder him, though I should have for calling me a twat. I think it would have been ruled justifiable homicide. Still. She agreed to meet him at 4:30 at her office in Humphrey Center. When Virgil got off the call, he and Train talked about the case for another 10 minutes. Then he asked her for a few of her business cards to give to interviewees. She said, take a whole stack, and pushed them across her desk. Back on the street, Virgil drove across the Mississippi to check into his hotel, which indeed did have an Applebee's, a Starbucks, and a beer joint. The room was small and decorated in tints of sage, which made him look sickly pale in the bathroom mirror, but nothing to complain about after years, of Motel 6. He dumped his bag, went back down to the street, got his car, drove back across the river to the Humphrey Center, a boring brick bunker that any SS dead ender might have approved of. Herbert Humphrey, the former vice president and one-time Democratic presidential candidate, had a lot of stuff named after him around the Twin Cities, including an airport, a doomed stadium, later torn down, and the building where Virgil was parking. Minnesota, for some unknown reason, had chosen the 13-line ground squirrel as its mascot, although they called it a golden gopher, and in a stroke of literary brilliance, had named it Goldie Gopher. The university's colors were red and gold, and the red was splashed everywhere on buildings, including the Humphrey Center. The center housed the Humphrey School of Public Affairs and both the Cultural Science and Anthropology departments, all of which had gopher red carpets. Above the atrium were hung the flags of all the nations of the world, Virgil thought as he walked in, though he didn't count them. Green's office was on the third floor, and Virgil took the stairs, cruised by a cultural science office once, checked a bulletin board in the hallway, saw nothing of interest except for a homemade Pretty Kittens poster with pull-off phone number tabs and with a photograph of two attractive, decidedly non-collegiate-looking blondes holding kitties in their laps. Virgil spent a moment considering the ambiguity of the poster, then ambled back to the office, a few minutes early for the appointment. The bird-like gum-chewing secretary gave him a puzzled look. He didn't fit into any of the niches with which she was familiar with. Yes? I'm Virgil Flowers, BCA agent. I have an appointment to speak with Professor Green at 4:30. Really? Where's your gun? You don't look like a police officer, she said. She gave her gum a few rapid chews with a snap at the end for emphasis. My gun's locked in my truck. I don't usually carry it, Virgil said. Really? Is that a new trend with police officers? I'm trying to start one. Anyway, when I need to kill someone, I use a shotgun, Virgil said. They're awkward to carry in offices. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense, I guess, she said. We were expecting you. Let me check that Dr. Green is off the phone. She turned away, made a call, mumbled for a moment, hung up, and said, this way. Virgil followed her to a modest office done in blonde wood with a blonde wooden desk and gopher red carpet and a blonde occupant. A large built-in bookcase dominated an interior wall and was stuffed with academic awards, appreciation plaques, ethnic poetry, and doodads. A vase of pale yellow silk flowers sat on a windowsill, which looked out over an atrium. As Tuna Fish had said, Green was a hottie, one of those attractive, smart, professional women with wired rimmed glasses and a nice haircut and tidy breasts under a pale blue blouse, who looked great with her head on a pillow and her legs wrapped around his neck. In Virgil's humble opinion. He didn't mention his opinion, but looked steadily into her eyes and extended a hand to be shaken, which she did. She pointed at the visitor's chair, sat down herself, and asked, "Have you really killed someone with your shotgun?" "Yes," Virgil said. "He was trying to kill me at the same time. I tried to talk him out of it, but he was reluctant and continued trying to kill me. So I shot him. I feel bad about it, but not too bad. The memory isn't incapacitating, or anything. That would be increasingly studied. People who have killed other people and how they feel about it." Green said, "Has modern American gun society so deadened our reactions to killing that we don't even experience an emotional toll when we ourselves kill someone?" A longitudinal I'm gonna put it on the screen, forget it, study going back after months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and so on would be interesting. Does the memory fade? Does the shooter avoid negative psychological consequences because of cultural conditioning through social media? How do American reactions to killing compare with non-gun societies, England perhaps, or Denmark? Virgil crossed his legs, settling into his chair, and said, "I personally know several guys, actually. I know a woman as well who've killed other people, and their reactions are all over the place. Some of them it doesn't seem to affect, but others are screwed up about it. Still, others seem screwed up, but only to the extent that it gets them time off or disability pay or job preferences." "Interesting," she said. She made a note on the desk pad. "Now, what can I do for you on this Quills murder? I've told the police." Virgil held up a hand. "I know. I read Sergeant Train's account of your testimony. I just wanted to push it around the plate. I don't believe I've encountered that idiom before. Push it around the plate," Green said. She scribbled another note. "Where did you hear it?" "My mother used it," Virgil said. "So, what was your personal relationship to Dr. Quill?" She recoiled. "None. I never. Are you suggesting?" No, Virgil smiled. "I'm not talking about sex, heaven forbid. I'm asking if you talked outside of these conflicts you had recently about the T-word thing." "T-word? You mean twat?" "Yes. Did you talk?" "I don't believe I ever said a word to him in my entire life before he came to my lecture and began yelling at me," Green said. "Then I went to his seminar, and well, we didn't actually speak. We shouted at each other." "And you didn't kill him?" "Of course not. I mean, I had to ask," Virgil said, holding up his hand, flashing another smile. "How about other people with cultural science? Is there anyone involved with your department that you might think capable of murder, even if the murder was impulsive as opposed to planned?" She stared at him for a moment, then said, "I suppose you do have to ask." She turned away, looking out a window at the brick wall of another building, then turned back and said, "Do you know about Cleet?" "Cleet? Was he the guy charged with assault after your speech?" "Yes, Cleet May. He has what I call a machismo thing. Sometimes a problem, sometimes not. That can be quite useful when doing cultural research. You know, he's happy to carry heavy things for us women, pick up the check more often than he has to, possibly defend us in the more cultures, that kind of thing. He also has a tendency to lean into our female students and staff." "Lean into? You mean grab, pressure, assault?" Virgil asked. No, I meant what I said. Lean. He leans into them. He moves into their spaces, whether he's welcome or not. Somehow, I feel that you might be familiar with the concept. I would never lean into anyone's space if I weren't welcome, Virgil said. How can you tell without trying? Green asked. You have to be a moron not to know, Virgil said. Really? Yes. Interesting. Differing levels of empathy among males. Does it begin in childhood? Is a dominant mother involved? She made another note, then asked, would you consider your mother to hold the dominant role in your kinship group? Who? Your nuclear family. Well, I never thought about it. Now that you ask, no, not especially. We were all pretty equal. Interesting, she said. Did your family group hold any extensive moral attitudes? Virgil shrugged. My father's a Lutheran minister. I went to church every Sunday and Wednesday night until I was 18. Interesting, she said, and she made another note. Now he's supposed to be asking her questions? Virgil tried to regain control of the interview. Exactly. This Cleet May, do you think he might be capable of violence, but he's not a stupid person, a thug by any means. I know that he studied martial arts, but also that he's deeply interested in Zen Buddhism. He makes friends easily enough, yet I sense a certain calculation in all of it. I've heard him talk about fighting, street fighting, but I'm not sure he's done it, but he sure talks about it. Maybe he gets it from movies. I don't know. I'll speak to him, Virgil said. You won't come into it. I appreciate that, Green said. There's another man, Terry Foster, who served in the military in the Middle East. He's quite mild-mannered. I've never seen anything that would suggest that he could become violent, but I've been told that he was wounded in action over there. I never heard him speak about it, and I never asked. Virgil noted the names, and Green said he could get contact information from the secretary. He pushed her on her relationship with Quill, and if she was telling the truth, there was nothing there but an academic conflict. Quill was trying to get your department abolished. If that happened, who'd be hurt worse? Well, me, she said. I'm the head of the department. If the university abolished the department, I might be able to move to anthropology, but it would certainly be a step backwards. Most of the students could probably transfer their credits there, but we have 2 PhD candidates who'll be badly damaged by such a thing. They are deep into their thesis work and might have to start over. Virgil took their names. They were both women, and Virgil said, women are less inclined to this kind of violence, a heavy physical attack. When women kill, it's usually a last result to fend off what they see as life-threatening situation. They use a gun or a knife, but they don't bludgeon somebody because they recognize that men are larger and stronger. If they feel desperate and cornered, they go for a real kill with a real weapon, and they're often older than students' age. Not always, but usually. Then you think the killer is a male? Oh, probably. Not a sure thing, but probably, Virgil said. Women do bludgeon people to death, but it's usually a child, usually their own. Green winced, then asked, anything else? Virgil shook his head. No, not at the moment. I might come back to consult with you if anything suggests that one of your students or staff was involved. She smiled for the first time, but her smile reminded Virgil of Lucas Davenport's smile, which could turn predatory and even downright mean. Do that. In the outer office, Virgil got contact information for the people mentioned by Green. He asked the secretary, the Wilson Library is around here, isn't it? I went to school here, but it was quite a while ago. It's right next door, she said. You gonna go look at the murder scene? I guess, Virgil said, since I'm right here. The secretary dropped her voice. It was pretty gory. The blood soaked into the floor, and I'm told there's no way to get the stain out. They'll probably cover it with carpet, but it'll be there forever. That would be a little grim for the next occupant of the room, Virgil allowed. The secretary shivered. I wouldn't take it. She leaned forward in her chair to look down the hall to Green's office, then sat upright again and asked quietly, if I tell you something, would you promise not to tell anyone? Sure, unless it's awful and illegal. It's not, though some people, she tilted her head toward Green's office, would probably think so. Things are so dangerous in the world now that my husband made me get a carry permit. I have a SIG 938 and a carry purse. If I get attacked, somebody's going to get 3 spear gold dots right in the bread basket. She snapped her gum. Be careful, Virgil said. Really, really careful. I am careful, she said solemnly. Virgil moved closer and asked, you think Professor Green is clear on this thing, right? Oh, sure. She likes to create a lot of commotion, but she wouldn't hurt anyone. Do you think that there are any males you know who have attachments to her or fantasies about her, who might be thinking they're protecting her by killing Quill? In the department? She thought for a moment. People will tell you Cleet may, but he's a big cream puff. No, I can't think of anybody. Virgil left the truck where it was and walked around to the Wilson Library. The director, who looked like a library lady should, with horn-rimmed glasses and a doughy oval face, reacted as Green's secretary had. You're sure you're a police officer? I wouldn't want you to worry about it. So, Virgil dug Train's card out of his ID case and handed it to her. Call Sergeant Train and ask. No. If you don't, you'll worry about it, Virgil said. She called Margaret Train, identified herself, asked the question, smiled, and said, yes, he is wearing an Otis Taylor t-shirt. I think he looks quite handsome in it. She listened some more, then exclaimed, shut up, 3 times? She looked at Virgil, reevaluating. He doesn't look old enough. When she got off the phone, she led him up a flight of steps to Quill's corral, which was on the outer wall, behind deep stacks of floor-to-ceiling bookcase. The corral had crime scene tape across the door. Virgil pulled the tape loose and unlocked the door with a key he'd gotten from Train. As he stepped inside, the library lady asked, you've really been married and divorced 3 times already? Yes, but I was only 14 the first time, so nobody expected that one to last, Virgil said. The library lady said, oh, and vanished, and Virgil smothered the impulse to run after her and tell her he was joking. So much for his awkward sense of humor. The corral was a small room, narrow, maybe 10 feet long. There was indeed the shadow of a stain on the tile floor, no doubt Quill's blood. Traces of black fingerprint powder was everywhere. He tried to avoid it as best he could. The stuff was like slime mold. It would stick to anything and spread like chickenpox. The corral had a built-in desk with a shelf above it and an expensive-looking leather office chair. A half-dozen heavy-looking texts rested in the bookcase, all of which looked as though they'd been roughly handled by investigators. A rolled-up yoga mat sat behind the books on the shelf. The silver metal basket was empty. The place smelled like nothing. Not smoke, not sweat, not even like the cleaner that would have been used to get rid of the blood. Not much to see, with plenty of room to swing a laptop, if a laptop, in fact, had been used to murder. He was about to leave when he noticed the yoga mat again. He reached over the chair, pushed a couple of books aside, and took it down off the shelf. It was thicker than normal mat. It was a thicker than normal mat made of soft, nubby, light blue plastic. Why would anyone be doing yoga in such a confined space and often enough to bring a mat? He thought about that for a moment, and flashed back to his junior year. A hasty relationship with a young woman named, what, Jean? Under a library table on the third floor just before closing. Was it Jean? His mind was going, he thought. He unrolled the mat on the floor, got down on his knees. As he did, the library lady returned, opened the corral door, gasped, and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you praying?" "No, I'm looking at Dr. Quill's yoga mat," Virgil said. "If you could step back, you're in my light." She stepped back and he scanned the mat from one end to the other, flipped it over, did the same thing with the back. Halfway down, he stopped squinting. The library lady was peering over his shoulder. Virgil stood up, stepped back, and said, pointing, "I want you to get down and look right there." He took a pencil from his pocket, bent over, laid it on the mat. Well, she got down on her knees anyway, looked where the pencil tip pointed, and after a moment said, "Oh, you think that's an eyelash?" Virgil asked. "No, mustache hair?" "No, what then?" "I think it might be, Dr. Quill was blind. Do you think his pubic hair would be that color? Dark brown, almost black?" "Well, I don't." "Neither do I," Virgil said. He got on his phone to Train. "There's a yoga mat in Train's corral." "Yes, I saw it," she said. "Did you unroll it?" "Yes, just to make sure nothing was rolled up inside." "Why?" "I unrolled it and found what a pubic hair expert here at the library thinks just might be one. In her preliminary opinion, she doesn't think it came from Dr. Quill since he's a blind and this hair is not." Shit, we missed it," Train said. "I knew you were going to be trouble, Flowers. I'll call the lab, see how closely they scanned the mat. If they really missed it, I'll get somebody over there to collect it." "Okay, tell the lab guy to bring new crime scene. Get it out. Crime scene tape." "I'll wait until they get here." Shit. "Listen, I'm coming too. I'll be there in 15 minutes. When Virgil got off the phone, the library lady said, "I'm not a hair expert." "Oh, I must have misunderstood," Virgil said. Virgil left the yoga mat unrolled on the floor, stepping out of the corral and closed the door as the library lady hurried away, glancing back over her shoulder only once as Virgil was picking up the clump of crime scene tape. Two uniformed campus cops walked past the far end of the book stack, hesitated when they saw Virgil at the corral door with a tangle of tape. They walked over and the older one asked, "What were you doing here, sir?" Virgil said, "I'm with the BCA. I'm working with Margaret Train on the murder of Dr. Quill." He slipped his ID out of his jacket pocket and handed it to the ranking cop, a sergeant. The cop glanced at it and handed it back. "Figure out anything?" "Couple of things. Like maybe I ought to be wearing a shirt and tie. Nobody seems to believe I'm a cop. Anyway, Margaret's on her way over right now to take another look at the corral." "Kinda sucks." We'll get there," Virgil said. "What's up with you guys? Anything to do with Quill?" "Nah, you know the Anderson Library across the street?" the sergeant asked. "They were building it when I was a student here. I was never inside." "Well, it's where they keep the rare book collection and other valuable stuff. Most of it's underground. Anyway, they're missing maps, at least several. They're doing an inventory now, but there are a hell of a lot of maps. We were looking at the cleaning staff because they've got keys to most things and could probably get keys to everything if they set their minds to it. One of the janitors told us he thought he saw a woman over there well after hours who actually works over here. She used to work over there. She denies it. She said she never goes over there anymore except during the day. She does know the janitor by sight. She says she sees him over here late in the day out back. She says he's token up before he goes to work. So, Stone, confused, familiar with her face. He shrugged. Virgil asked, "How much are the maps worth?" "Several $1,000s each, maybe more. The library hasn't tried to market them, so they don't know for sure. The thing is, the missing ones are all old European maps and would probably get the biggest bucks if they were sold in Germany or France. And if they're sold there through a private dealer, we'd never hear about it." "The woman here, what's her name?" "Genevieve O'Hare. First name is pronounced the French way, Javier." "And what do you think?" "Well, the janitor wasn't sure that it was her he saw. If he was Stone and knew her face, that's a problem. Whoever took the maps knew what they were doing. They're valuable, but not the most valuable. They weren't often referenced, and they're not so uncommon that their sale would get special attention. So there's all that." "Is this woman French?" "No, not Irish either. Born right here in Minnesota." They were still talking about the maps theft and the Quill murder when Trance came up the stairs looking harassed. She blew a stray hank of hair from her face and said, "Okay, let's see it." The two campus cops followed them to Quill's carrel. Virgil unlocked the door and said, "The pencil point is an inch away from it." "What is it?" the shorter of the two cops asked. Train didn't answer. She got down on her knees, pushed her glasses back on her nose, looked, and said, "Okay." She stood up and said, "Lock the door." Virgil did and said, "We've got to go somewhere and talk about it." "There are a couple of study rooms here." The campus cops would have been happy to hear their conversation, but Virgil waved them off with a cheerful, "See you later, guys," as he followed Train to an empty room. "Crime scene ought to be here pretty quick, given what I told them and how their asses are now up around their ears," Train said. "If Quill was screwing somebody in there, it'd have to be after hours, and we know he was there after hours." You had no hint that he was dating somebody?" "Haven't been able to find anyone," she said. There've been 2 weeks of publicity and no one came forward. Why would he be nailing somebody in the library? His house is a 5-minute drive from here." "There's something else," Virgil said, and Train's eyebrows went up. He told her about the campus cops investigating the maps theft, and that a woman who worked in the library, apparently on the next floor up, had been questioned. A janitor, who may have been Stone at the time, thought he saw the woman over there late at night in the map collection. Virgil said she used to work there and might have had keys for both buildings. Suppose he spooked her and she wanted to get out of sight, so she came over here and ran into Quill. But would she kill him? If she's a librarian, wouldn't she make an excuse and then ask him what the heck he was doing here? That sounds reasonable, depending on how spooked she was. Whoever took the maps took at least thousands of dollars worth. From what those cops told me, they could be missing even more. "We need to dig into this," Train said. "I tell you what, Margaret, I think you need to dig into it. I've talked to 2 campus cops and a librarian here and a secretary over at Humphrey Center, and there have been all kinds of people walking around here since I reopened the corral. So word could get out that some new guy is investigating. It'll be better for all of us if you were running this part of it." "You're right," Train said, looking around. Come on. A student seemed to be watching them through the study room window. "I'll take it. Thank you." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to give you the name of the woman the cops talked to." I'll check her hair color too, Train said. Virgil, yeah, do that. Although, I know. Will Quill be screwing a map thief? And why? That doesn't sound right. But if that's a pubic hair, it didn't drift down from heaven. We don't know how long it's been there, Virgil said. He might have been having an affair, bringing someone here before he and his last wife broke up. I don't think so. Train shook her head. He was an aristocrat kind of guy. If he was sleeping with someone an equal, it would have been in a hotel, someplace with a handy bathroom. It wouldn't have been like this, in a library, on a yoga mat, after hours. Margaret, there's a pubic hair on the yoga mat, and it isn't his. There's a bathroom 50 feet from here. I'll figure it out, she said. She chewed on her lower lip and said, what if it was somebody young who he wouldn't want to be seen in public with? A student. Could be. But if he was an aristocrat sort, he might not care as long as she wasn't 13 or something. Yeah, okay. Now, what are you going to do? I was going to meet you over at the house. That was next. Give me the key. Come over when you're done here. I'll be a while. She nodded. Be aware that his house has been lived in by several different women, his mother for one, at least for a while before she died, plus 3 wives and probably a couple of girlfriends. It's full of about 80 years worth of family junk, including a stuffed pelican and several stuffed fish. We went through it all. Maybe you'll find something, but I won't be holding my breath. And that's the end of chapter 4. Okay, so could it have been a woman? Okay, so here's my thought, right? Okay, so he got hit over the head with a computer. Then there was somebody stealing maps on the same day. If the killer was stealing the maps, do you think he was trying to escape through the library and the laptop was just happened to be there and he just used it, or the person that killed Quill just used it to, hit him over the head to escape? And why was the laptop there? And could it be a student? It could be the most unlikeliest person too, like his daughter. And then they said that women don't usually do stuff like that. I think so if he was caught off guard. And how did the person get behind him? I thought that they was walking forward. He saw the light. Oh, he must have went past the person who murdered him, and then the person hit him. So the person he was with should have saw something, right? Well, at least we got some questions. I've got some questions going. So I'm going to see y'all in a definition video. So stay tuned for the definition portion. Okay, welcome to the definition portion. Okay, so the first word is spelled Longitudinal, and this is how it is pronounced.
Longitudinal.
Longitudinal is running lengthwise rather than across. It's an adjective. Relating to longitude, measure from east to west. Okay, and I decided not to go back in the chapter to see where it was, and so I'm just going to give the definitions of the words that I was struggling with. Okay, the next word is spelled MISOG. I think I know this one is misogynistic now. Okay, this is how it's pronounced.
Misogynistic.
Yeah, misogynistic. After the fact, I realized what it was saying. It's an adjective strongly prejudiced against women. And the last word is spelled RECALTRANT. And I didn't even pronounce it. I used a totally different word for it. But this is how it's pronounced.
Recalcitrant.
Recalcitrant. It's an adjective. Having an obstinately uncooperative attitude, especially towards authority or discipline. Let's see that one more time. Listen to that one more time.
Recalcitrant.
Recalcitrant. Okay, so that's the end of the definition video. I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.